So you've started your eBay store and everything's ticking along nicely. What have you got to look at next? What is it now that you've got to do? Okay, well, that's the sort of position that I'm in. And I am now looking at growing the store. Growth, the G word, growth. All right. What I'm going to do in this video is have a look at how you can see if your eBay store is growing, what I do to see if, to check the rate of growth, and you know, the way in which you can interpret the data that is actually available to you, because there's a whole wealth of data available to you on eBay. But what is it that I look at? And also I'm looking for comments because I want to know what you look at as well. My name's James Smith and I run channel JR74. Okay, please like, comment and subscribe. And as I said, you know, the G word is what we're going to talk about now. The obvious one to look at first is your profits. To me, I do my monthly and I will print out the financial statement that eBay provides and basically take all of the data off that. I've got a spreadsheet which basically I have the orders amount, and that's the total amount that you have made in that month with fees taken off it. Okay, that's the orders value that it will give you, and I will minus from that firstly my sourcing costs. Okay, any money that I've spent on getting stuff for that month comes off that orders amount. Any claims or any refunds that I've had to process, that comes off as well. Any postage labels, okay, that's quite a large one as well. So you know, the amount of postage that you've spent on that month, and shop fee, okay, and then any other sort of like insertion fees that you have had to pay during that month. All of those sort of costs, apart from your sourcing costs, you will find on the document like this. All right, it is quite important that you work out your profits every month, because obviously you know, if you've got to declare your tax, if you're making over £1,000, then you know, it's important that you do that and you register for self-assessment. Okay, I've done that, and you know, I think towards April time I'll be doing a video on it as to how I do it and what I do in these instances. So yeah, the profits are the obvious one. Okay, really everybody should know that. But how else do I check my growth rates? The money that eBay hold of the sales that you have made can get paid to you in three ways. First way is you will get it the very next day after you've made the sale. Okay. The second way is you can get paid weekly. The third way is that you can get paid monthly. I prefer weekly, and that gives me a payment every Tuesday morning. The reason why I prefer it this way is there's normally money in my eBay account, and say if you are paying a shop fee every month, the money is there for them to take. And sometimes if you do it on like whenever you make a sale, the money isn't there and they've got to delve into your account, and then you've got to work out the repayments and stuff like this. I don't particularly want to do that. So weekly is what I go for. All right. I feel that daily it's bit too difficult. Not difficult, but it's more of a hassle to work out how much is coming into the business, okay, or how much you're actually getting paid by eBay. And monthly is purely because I don't want them to have my money and make interest on it. So weekly we'll settle that. Now, what I do is I devise a spreadsheet. Down the side of the spreadsheet, top to bottom, I've got 1 to 52, the weeks of the year. Okay, across the top, I've got the year. All right, now I started doing this on week 40 of 2022. All right, now what this does, it allows you to compare the amount of money that you make in a week against the amount of money made in the same week from the previous year. Okay, so you are comparing like for like at the same time of year. Now that's important because you've got the season, it takes into account the seasonality aspect of everything. Sometimes comparing, say, like your sales in Q4 to your sales in Q3, well, more people are buying in Q4. It's not really a very good comparison to do. All right, a better comparison to do is to have a look against how you were doing the year before. And looking at what I've done, as I said, I started week 40 in 2022. So that allowed me in 2023 to compare over 11 weeks. Okay, and in those 11 weeks, 8 of those weeks I made more than in the previous year. 5 of those weeks I made less. So that would say to me that the growth is happening in terms of financial growth, which really is what we're looking for. Okay, in terms of this year in 2024, at the time of making this video, I'm now on week 46. Okay, from those weeks, 30 weeks have been higher, 16 weeks have been lower. So again, I can see that the growth is starting to happen on, you know, when comparing to the same time last year and the same time the year before that as well. The highest week I will colour green, all right, when making this comparison. So that is a good way of doing a comparison, which takes into account the amount of money that you get paid weekly. That allows you to see if growth is actually happening. As I said, it's all about the data that you have. Now, I've only just started doing this, so I've got nothing to compare it against, but I feel that this is important as well. You learn as you go along, you learn. And as I say, I've been doing this now for about 2.5 years. So I'm always going to be adding, I'm always going to be maybe not looking at data as much compared to what I was looking before, and then looking at new data. It's really, really important to sort of like analyze what you were doing and maybe make some changes. But one thing that I'm now making notes of is my 90-day total. You will see that there is a 90-day total available for you. And if you make a note of that at the end of each month, again, you can compare it against previous years. Again, that will show you if growth is occurring. You know, if the numbers are quite stagnant, if you've got the same sort of number from the previous year compared to now, then, you know, you've got to think to yourself, well, why is that? And that's why this video is called, you know, growing your eBay business. Is it happening, and how is it happening? If your business is growing, you've got to know how. There's so many things that you can look at. Is it the quality of your products? Is it your sourcing cost? Is it the impressions that you're actually getting on your eBay shop? All right, the amount of people that are looking at it. I'll come to that in a minute. But that 90-day figure is an important one. Okay, performance data. What performance data do I look at? There's 3 things in particular that I look at, and those things are impressions, page views, and actual sales. If you think about it, an impression is this is where the sales funnel comes in. All right, this is when you hear people talking about sales funnels, this is what they're meaning. An impression is something that's shown on somebody else's computer screen. So if you have put a t-shirt on eBay and somebody else has typed an Under Armour t-shirt, somebody else has typed in Under Armour t-shirt and it has come up on their computer screen, your Under Armour t-shirt has come up on their computer screen, that is an impression. They don't have to click on it, it's just got to pass through the screen. Okay, that's an impression. If they click on it, it's a page view. If they buy it, it's a sale. So you've got impressions, okay, going down to page views, going down to sales. And if you start to look at these numbers, you will see that the impressions are big numbers, the page views are smaller, and the sales are smaller still. Okay, now, the way that I do this is I put the month on the side of the spreadsheet, okay? And then across the top of the spread, I'll have impressions at the top of the first column, top of the second column, page views, top of the third column, sales. Okay, so, and then I'll have, I think mine go back to October 2022. All right, so October 2022, November 2022, December 2022, Jan 23, and so on and so on and all the way down. Right, so I've got all my data there, okay, and you can imagine that going back to 2022, there's now quite a few columns, and it's taking up quite a substantial part of the page. It's not just a small little spread that's just started, it's now got quite substantial data. So you've got to think to yourself, well, how do I see from this data if I'm getting better, if it's growing? Right, this is what I do. I will look at all the Octobers, October 2022, October 2023, and October 2024 in the impressions column. The highest scoring October, I will turn that cell green. Okay, I will then do the same for every single month, for January, for February, for March, for April, for May, June, July, August, September. I've already mentioned October, November and December. Okay, so the highest, so in that column with impressions at the top, I will have 12 green cells for the highest scoring month. Okay, those green cells should be near the bottom of your spreadsheet if your business is growing. Okay, because they should be at the time, you know, because if you're going the top being the oldest data, the bottom of the spreadsheet being the newest data that you are inputting, okay, you know, nobody works from the bottom up, surely everybody works from the top down, okay? So, yeah, so if you are getting the green cells towards the bottom of your spreadsheet, you will know that they are growing. I do exactly the same in the page views column as well, and the sales column. Okay, and so far so good. I think this October, in terms of the impressions, last October was better, all right, which I was a bit surprised at, but this October's page views are higher. So actually, I'm actually thinking to myself, well, there's less people watching it, but it's more effective. The stuff that I'm putting on is better at selling. So, you know, there's a positive story in every single thing that you do. But yeah, those green cells need to be towards the bottom of your spreadsheet. And if they are, your business is growing. Congratulations. Two other pieces of data that I look at on a monthly basis are, and this is just to make sure that everything's, this is the engines. You just, by looking at these figures, you're just running a bit of a rag over the engines and just checking that everything's tickety-boo, all right? This is the click-through rate and the sales conversion rate. Okay, now the click-through rate, I like to see either 0.2 or 0.3. If it's higher, great. If it's lower, okay, not good if it's lower. There's really, if it's lower, this is what I mean by looking at data like this. You can't really, okay, you know, profit wise, yes, your profits probably would have dropped if you've dropped to 0.1, okay, but looking at stuff like this, you can see why. All right, your click-through rate is quite simply the people that click on the product of yours that is on the screen. So say if your screen goes or if your product goes onto somebody else's screen 1,000 times, okay, now my click-through rate is either 0.2 or 0.3. That's a percentage. So 1% of 1,000 is 10, 0.2 or 0.3 would be either 2 or 3 times. So for every 1,000 times my product actually goes on somebody's screen, somebody is clicking on it either 2 or 3 times. Now, considering that impression-wise, I'm up to nearly 1 million impressions every month, then actually, you know, you might be thinking to yourself, well, 2 or 3 times per 1,000, that's not very good. If you're considering that actually I'm getting nearly 1 million impressions a month and that number is growing, then it begins to put it into perspective. It is actually quite a lot. Honestly, the amount of times that people use eBay, it's mind-blowing just how popular this website is. Okay, the sales conversion rate is after somebody has clicked on it, it's do they buy it. Okay, and for me now, Say if 100 people now have clicked on it, okay, my rate for somebody buying it is usually between 2.5 and 3. So for every 100 times that somebody clicks on one of my products, either 2.5 or 3 times somebody will buy. That again is normal. From the videos that I've watched, people do say that if your sales conversion rate is below 1, you are losing money. Your sales conversion rate, if you've only just started doing eBay, it's going to be all over the place, okay? But if you've been doing it for, say, over 12 months, you should see it begin to settle down to a certain level, okay? Now, mine is usually between 2.5 and 3. So you can use that as a comparison to your store. Are you below it? Are you above it? Let me know, okay? And also, you know, what you sell. Because I want this to be educational, as I keep saying, so other people can see the sort of products that are achieving high sell-through rates, okay? Right, the last bit, the last little bit of data that I put in, it's the amount of stuff that's on my shop, okay? The number of items that are on my shop at the end of each month, I will record, just to give me a snippet of how many things are there. How many things have I got in the shed? All right. That's important, because if you want to grow this store, if you want to grow your shop, then more stuff has got to be put into your shop. And really and truly, if you want to grow, you've got to list more as well. I think really you've got to work out pretty early on how many things you can realistically list in a day. To me now, I'm on about 3 or 4, okay? And I reckon I can put it up to 5, but anything above that, I think I'm going to be, you know, it's going to, I'm pretty sure then it's going to impact on my proper job, and I don't want that to happen. So as I say, at the moment, it is just a side hustle, all right, which I'm wanting to grow to a place where potentially I could then begin to reduce hours in my actual job. All right, that's the dream. That's the dream, okay? Whether it's reality or not, subscribe to the video and find out, because I'll let you know later on. But yeah, so actually knowing your shop numbers is quite important too. Look, if your numbers are going up, okay, you might think, yeah, I'm getting more products in, but are you selling them? Okay, that's the big thing. So, you know, you might want your products to go up and your shop numbers to go up, but you also want your sales to go up as well. There's no point in putting stuff into your shop if it's not selling. One of the things that I've done recently, which has been quite a success, is not everything I put on the shop sells, okay? Every reseller has that. So I've done a promotion, a sale. Anything that's been on the shop for over 6 months, I offered at 50%, and it's had a bit of an impact. There's some things that I've been able to shift. One thing as well that I am going to look at as too is just doing auctions for those things that have been on for a long time and just putting them on at £1 and seeing what happens. That's another thing that you can do, because really, okay, it hasn't worked. People aren't looking at it. People aren't buying it. I want to get the money back and try again. Okay. So yeah, your shop number. All right. How many things are on your store? That is another thing that you can compare monthly against this time last year, this time 2 years ago. And sometimes it actually shows just how your shop is growing, okay? How it's getting bigger, how the amount of stuff that you have is being listed and being put out there. Okay, so there's a few things that I've put into your coffee pot and see if it percolates down, all right? This is the way that I look at my data, all right? It is important that you look at the data if you are going to take growing your eBay store seriously. All of the figures that I've mentioned are important in their own sort of way. And I'm hoping that you realise that what I do is I compare month on month, and I will have a system where I will see is the present month that I'm working on better than last October or the October before that, if I'm working on October now. All right, it is comparison there. and I use spreadsheet color to actually tell me if that is the case. All right, luckily at the moment, that sheet that I told you about where I've got the impressions, the page views and the sales is pretty much green at the bottom. Okay, the other one that I told you about comparing the weekly incomes for the last 2 years now, the green cells, okay, an increase, are outdoing the red cells, a decrease. And what I'm finding is that when I see an increase, okay, it's quite a substantial increase. If it's a red decrease, sometimes I've missed it by pounds. It's not really that much. So I suppose what you could do is actually have like a running figure of the difference between the two. Okay, right. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. There's so many different things to talk about when running an eBay store, but crunching the numbers is one of them. I think what I will do next week is a video on postage. Okay, that's what I've got as an idea for next week's video. The postal services that are available and the amount that they cost and when to use which one. It does again affect profit, okay, because the postage cost is part of what I've been talking about. Okay, all right. In On and Gone 27, I think, is coming out this weekend. I'll be working on that soon, but for the time being, I'm going to stop rambling. This is Smithy out. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe. How do you analyse your data? Cheers.